Hello and welcome to So Many Books. I'm your host, Toni Andrews, and tonight's guest is Emily Bryan, author of historical romances. Welcome.
Hello.
I'm really happy to have you here. I was reading your book today, your upcoming release today, and I forget how much I love historical romances when I don't read them for a while. But I think for many of our viewers, the kind of book that you write, that to them, that is what a romance novel is. Those are the first ones that I read. I think the first romance novel I ever read was by Kathleen Woodiwiss.
So many of us can say the very same thing. The first one that was in my hands was The Wolf and the Dove.
Me too. I reread it to see if I still loved it, and you know what? I still do.
Yes.
I reread it recently.
In fact, my mother put the first one in my hands.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Oh, did they know each other?
Well, evidently they knew something about love.
Okay, but your upcoming book, it's Vexing the Viscount,
Yes.
and we'll put that up for our readers, our viewers to see. And I was reading this today, and it's just so the classic novel where we've got the feisty heroine, you know. Although this was a little bit of a twist, I thought, on the hero. Is generally the hero is very experienced, and the heroine is less so, and that's not the case with this particular hero.
No, I thought it would be a little interesting because the world of historical romance is so populated with rakes and rogues, and I don't know if it's legal for me to say man whores. No?
Okay, you can say man whores.
Maybe not. But you know, he's already thrown his leg over everything, and sometimes that's not very sexy. So I thought, why not see what I can do with developing a virgin hero? I mean, there's nothing wrong with Lucian. He's extremely interested, but he's got a couple of strikes against him. He doesn't feel like taking advantage of the willing serving girls, and he's not ready to get married. And he doesn't have the ready cash to form a relationship with a woman of pleasure at this point. So he's just kind of biding his time.
Yeah, well, I actually, you know, I wrote a book that technically it's not a historical, it's actually a fantasy, because I'm too lazy to get the historical details right. But I set it in my imaginary world was about the same era as your books, and I actually have a scene where the hero is explaining to this heroine, who is from a different culture, why you know, it's difficult to have sex in his society. He's like, well, the women that are suitable are going to tell you no unless you marry them, and he's trying to explain this all to her. And then she's in a society where they're very frank about it all, and the more he explains it, the more ridiculous he realizes it sounds even to him. So it's a funny thing.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk to you about the writing process. Now, these ideas, where do you get your ideas? You mentioned that you sang opera. You were an opera singer.
I did, and singing opera enabled me to study the three-act structure that is so common in books. And also, when I was preparing for a role, I would develop a backstory in my own mind so that my characters would be motivated to move forward. And I think it was writing those little backstories that were just for me that got me interested in doing some more in-depth writing. That's about the best way I can describe it, is I have to get to know the character first, find out who they are, what they desperately want, and that'll give me my plot so I can thwart them at every turn and keep them from getting it.
They can't have it. It's the goal, motivation, and conflict statement. You say that your character, like we have Daisy. Daisy wants...
She wants Lucian.
She wants Lucian.
Yes.
But...
But she can't have him for a number of reasons. There's a family feud that's going on between...
Yes. Oh, and that's fascinating, and that's very topical, actually, because that's a real thing.
Yes.
It's called what was it called?
The South Sea Bubble.
The South Sea Bubble. And when did that take? That was
1720 is when the London Stock Exchange absolutely crashed under the weight of this one company that got so huge, and the government continued to pour money into it and prop it up. And they kept saying, well, if they just get a few more investors. And in my story, Lucian's father tries to convince Daisy's uncle to invest, and he refuses. And then it tanks, and he blames her uncle for his loss of everything. But this really did happen, and Sir Isaac Newton actually lost 20,000
Yeah,
pounds.
I was looking it up because I was fascinated. I said, oh, I've heard of this before. And I looked it up, and I guess that, probably, in some college history course was probably the last time. But I didn't think about it that much at that point because, well, I wasn't a grown-up, and I didn't have, didn't have any money in the bank to think about, oh, what's going to happen, with the stock market. And it is very topical right now.
Yes, sadly, yeah.
But the South Sea Bubble, that was fascinating. Now, and the character, I was very interested in the character of the great aunt.
Yes, that's Isabella.
And she's a former courtesan.
Yes.
And she's a character in one of your previous novels.
Yes, she also appears in Pleasuring the Pirate. She's the heroine's mother in that one.
I love these titles. We have Vexing the Viscount, Pleasuring the Pirate. And it was funny, you came in and I had these on my shelf already. And I had them because I think I got them at a writer's conference. Probably the New England romance writer, the New England chapter of the Romance Writers of America conference, perhaps?
You probably would have been able to get the Duchess one there. Pirate didn't come out until
Distracting
last
the Duchess,
summer.
yes, but I already had these.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, I love these.
Yeah, my editor likes alliteration. But I think I'm done with the Xing the X title pattern because Diddling the Duke is just too silly.
That's just nasty. That's nasty. But did you come up with the titles? Because my titles, I'm about 50-50.
Yeah.
I'm about 50-50 on them keeping my original title and them changing it. I think many of our viewers may not realize that we write the book and we turn it in, and after that we don't really know what's going to happen to it. I'm going to use an example of one of my own books here. It's called Men in Chains. This is Virginia Reed, and I also write under the pen name Virginia Reed. I don't think I've told our viewers that before. But it's called Men in Chains. I'll put a picture of it up for the viewers. And we've got this bare-chested man and this nasty name. Okay, it's not an erotic book. I've written erotic books, and they actually have much calmer covers than this one. But it was originally called Delinda's Plan, and it's she's kind of a revolutionary. It's like a woman with a cause story, you know? And it's not a nasty book at all, but they put this nasty cover and this nasty name, and everybody's like, ooh, Men in Chains. And then they read it and they're like, well, that was really good, but I was expecting something different. And I'm like, yeah.
That's my Distracting the Duchess started out being Looking for Mr. Beddington.
Looking for Mr. Beddington, okay.
Yeah. So, and then my editor changed it, and that started us down the Xing the X
Well, but see,
pathway.
then, as soon as I see this title, Vexing the Viscount, I know it's an Emily Bryan book. So that's, that's branding. That's a good thing, I suppose. And I'm going to take that home and finish it, probably staying up late tonight, because I forget how much I love being swept away in this world.
Well, that's what I love about historical romance, too, because you can travel, but you can't go back in time any other way. And with a historical romance, you get not just what was happening politically and everything, you get how people lived their lives. Yeah.
I've written 2 historical romances, but they were erotic books, so the publisher was not very stringent about the historical detail.
Well, just remember, if you ever do another one, don't ever say Lord somebody if he's a duke. He's always your